Welcome to Jurassic Peak. Hello everybody and welcome back to Jurassic Peak. This is episode 5 of a 10-part series, 9 parts building, 1 part park tour. And today we are going to be working on part 5. Part 5 is the biggest episode of this series by a fair amount. It is huge. If you were watching for part 4, we sort of did a little bit of a pre-build, just getting a few things sorted out, terraforming a bit and putting down some decorations, but this episode is not very short, I should tell you. So make sure that you have your snacks ready, make sure that you have some drinks ready, because this is going to be a long episode. I don't even think I'll be able to record this commentary all in one sitting, it's so long. Now this episode is, even though it's very, very long, it is also probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I really love how this one turned out. This episode is the swamp build. I've never really done something like this before, so you can imagine that there's a lot for me to consider here. I wouldn't call myself an experienced park builder, so there was a lot of new experiences with this build. The swamp build is going to be a place where guests are going to need their malaria shots, their West Nile virus shots. They're going to need to be vaccinated because it's going to be quite a nasty place to be for mosquitoes. I would say that this episode is a lot of trial and error, and everything just sort of worked out right. Now the dinosaurs that I chose for this park are numerous. I believe there are 11 or 12 species, and I specifically chose the dinosaurs that I think would best fit into a swamp or wetland sort of environment. So even though many dinosaurs claim to only want 6% water, I think, well, they kind of look like the kind of dinosaur that likes a little more. So there's going to be a lot of water in this build. Here I'm just setting up an observation tower. This particular enclosure is going to have no viewing gallery, so it can only be viewed by this observation tower. It's the only one of its kind in this build, in this episode, but I think it's a pretty cool idea. You know, as a one-of-a-kind sort of thing. And it helps to reduce the amount of clutter and the amount of complications that we don't need to get paths everywhere for every build. Now this is something that I have included a fair amount of in this episode, are these small islands. I really love the idea, but not only that, this episode is going to be sort of the first episode of the series that I'm trying to make it a bit like a different theme. So I'm using a lot more Malta expansion building pieces in this episode, which you're going to see very soon, but I think it turned out so well. So here I'm just putting down these Malta viewing galleries. I like the warmth of their style. They have a very warm color palette, which I think fits really well with this area here. I want this area to feel bright. I want it to feel tropical. Now, I don't have any dinosaur mixing in this episode, but I do use invisible fences to separate enclosures. So I will have multiple dinosaurs species, but they will be separated. Another thing as well is that by the time this video comes out, I will have passed my 100 subscriber milestone. So I'll just say thank you again to all of my new subscribers who have come in, especially for the Jurassic World park building series, because I do know that there have been many subscribers from specifically the Jurassic World series, so I am very thankful to have you here, and this Jurassic Peak is dedicated to you. Here I'm just trying to get the feeling right for these fences. This was a pretty big episode as well, because many of these enclosures were quite unique to build and to place, because it goes around the water bodies, and I tried to make each water body unique in their own way as well. And this episode here, it really does work off of the back of the previous episode, because in episode 4 we had the origin of the river, which went through 2 dinosaur enclosures, and essentially this river empties out into this wetland, this swamp, and that is the thing we're working on now, is the result of that emptying out of the river, and it's sort of collecting here and flooding this area. Here we're just doing the enclosure that has no viewing gallery. This is the one you can only view from the observation tower. I'm making it so that the water pump area is not included in any enclosures. It is separate, but the water does sort of continue through the fence, so it's the same water, but the dinosaurs don't have access to the dinosaur or to the water pump area. Here we're just rearranging everything, fine-tuning it. I do want this area of the park to be sort of, I guess, layers. So everything is sort of a layer on top of a layer. I'm just trying to figure out how I want this path to go. I'm pretty sure this area of the park, there is no circuit where you can just go around the sides. I believe that it is pretty much entirely just paths branching off of that main path that travels along the edge of the ravine. But it also prevents guests from entering if they don't want to enter. I don't want you to have to pass through this swamp area to get to other places. I'd prefer you to have the freedom to do that. We're just repainting here. These are the elevation changes. I always like to paint my elevation changes just so that I can see them from above and I don't have to keep searching for the elevation tool to see the lines. So it is extra work to continuously paint and erase elevation changes, but I do find it helpful. So here we have another enclosure. This one is going to have 3 viewing galleries for 3 species, which will be included. You know, the one thing that I really love the most about doing water in this game, doing these sort of swamp areas, is that the different shrubs look so good underwater. They really look like swamp seaweed and stuff. They look like swamp growing plants when they're submerged. The best ones are the ornamental shrubs, the ones with the flowers, because they're quite low lying. They sit quite low, so you can, what would be the word? Simulate, I suppose, a lower area in the water by putting those in the middle, and then you put the other ornamental shrubs around them to make it seem like there's an elevation change in the water. That's one little trick I like. So here we're putting another viewing gallery in. That will be able to view from the far side. And now we are going to put our 3 viewing galleries. Sorry, that previous one was a viewing tower, not a gallery. Getting my words all mixed up today. Now, it wouldn't be a Thomas Simulates video without me terraforming too much and then trying to put a viewing gallery down and then finding I need to redo the terraforming and then put it down and then undo it again. So you'll be seeing plenty of that very soon. Oh, I must have edited that part out. So I just shouldn't have said anything, and then I would have looked very good. But no, I'll admit it. I did have to terraform off camera. I suppose I edited it out and then I made it seem like I didn't. I'm just trying to find what shapes go well here. I don't want it all to be just boring paths, like a straight line. I do want to encourage some imagination here. So here I'm just trying to bring the water back in to the viewing gallery. At least as close as I can. So you see those shrubs with the beautiful red and purple flowers. Those are some of the best shrubs to put in the middle of your water area to make it seem like the water is lower, because they do sit much lower than the other shrubs. But every shrub has a value. I really do love how versatile the shrubs are in this game, and the plants. That's probably one of the strongest things about this game I can think of, is how great these plain plants look. They just, you know, they can appear anywhere, and I really love how they appear everywhere and yet they look so good. So unfortunately, you can see that I'm fencing off this entire wet area, but I did not put a pump down. That will be an issue later. Here we're just bringing the fence pretty close to the path. I do want the guests to see dinosaurs as much as they can. So if I put the fence a little closer, at least it gives us a little bit more of an opportunity to experience the dinosaurs. Okay, we're just gonna make a plaza here. This will be for seating, I suppose. Unfortunately, it is on a slope, and a lot of objects you can't place on a slope. That's something a bit annoying, but I can understand it. So I'm just playing with it here, but that just does not look very good. So here, this might be the part that I realized. Yes, I believe it is. I realized that I didn't include the pumping station, so I believe I redid the fence just to give this some space from the dinosaurs. And we have to put in our water tower here. I like to imagine that the water tower has some sort of mosquito insecticide or something like that, just to keep the mosquitoes down. And then we have to paint our rock surface again. I believe it's these two, this water area that I just did is my two favorite water areas of the map. It's going to be 2 enclosures, I believe, but I just really loved how they turned out. And you'll see why very soon. Of course, sometimes we have to delete some water. But right now I'm just getting the overall feel for the enclosures down before I even begin to decorate them. This is the original water, I believe, from my original terraforming I did for the map before I started working on it. All of this moving around is me just considering the layout, trying to visualize. But this was a very tricky area, I would say. This whole episode was quite tricky because, well, as I said previously, I've never done this type of build before. A swamp build. All of my builds previously, and I'm not saying that I have years of experience on Jurassic World games. 2 was my first, and I think I got it probably a year ago or a year and a half ago, maybe roughly there, between a year and a half. And well, I just made some pretty cardboard cutout sort of parks, you know, like proper zoos where it's a human world and there's not much variety, I'll say. But Jurassic Peak is my attempt at breaking out, I suppose. Breaking out into the world of, I don't know, YouTube park building, where everything needs to look good and ideally will be visually appealing and pleasing to my viewers. And I would say that this is probably pleasing many of you, but I'm probably the most pleased of all because I've never built this good in my life until now. So I'm very happy with myself. I'm just expanding this barrier to prevent people from falling into the chasm below. And once we get the marine species down there, then it'll prevent people from becoming fish food for my big aquatic dinosaurs. So if you didn't know, I have pre-ordered Jurassic World Evolution 3. I am going to make Jurassic World Evolution a staple of my channel. Hopefully that pleases some of you. I am going to do a Jurassic Peak on Jurassic World Evolution 3. Probably not immediately because I'd prefer there to be perhaps more scenery items and maybe different dinosaur species before I start, because Jurassic World Evolution or Jurassic Peak on Jurassic World Evolution 2, the video you're watching now, is certainly my, I'd say, best idea I think I've ever had for a park build. So I do want to make sure that when I redo it on Jurassic World Evolution 3, it's going to be perfect. Here we have the classic issue of you can't build the wall too close to the cliff edge, but you can build the cliff edge close to the wall. So You have to expand it out at the base, and then you can push it back in later. I love this little wall here. Make sure you don't let your kids get too close to it. But don't worry, people sign a waiver when they come to this park. They do sign a waiver saying they will not sue the park for their own injuries, because this area here is containing a lot of hazards. Here I'm just putting down a couple of these coffee shops. I have changed it later on, so if you see any that are not coffee shops, I change every single amenity to be a coffee shop, either to go or sit in fancy coffee. But I just think, well, that's pretty funny. People really love their coffee, so that's what we're working with here. Coffee. Unfortunately, we're getting into a steeper area, so I can't keep using that brick wall. So we are going to transition that to a forest, but I would say, considering most of this cliff edge here has a brick wall, I think we've done pretty well. Here we're just starting some decoration before we move on to the final enclosure. Well, fence building, I should say. I think we've pretty much got it down. There's still some fine-tuning to do. I've done builds in the past where I put these benches all the way around the fountain. It looks really good, but it takes a long time to do that. So I'm only doing a very rough few benches. Most of this is going to be seating. A big thing is that we want to have a lot of seats so people can drink their coffee wherever they want. Not just at the amenity at the restaurant or the cafe, but also by their favorite dinosaur enclosures. Okay, now we can do our seats. But again, I don't put seats on the area that is on a slope. This is sort of my one solution, I suppose, to decorating this area here. Just a little bit of light, a little bit of architecture. There's really not much to it. So one of these garbage cans might be like one of those smoking cigarette cans that you throw your cigarettes in. So I just put a bench next to it. And now we are beginning to put dirt down under the path. Just gives it some nice color, especially since underneath the path is not that perfect grassy texture. It's sort of more like that other grass texture. I really don't like that one. So I just find the dirt looks a little better. So we've certainly made a start on this enclosure area. Well, I suppose on this theme of the park, the swamp. But we're only about halfway done even putting up fences, let alone decorating. So now we're just continuing on with the path here. We're using a medium path. This is the main path, the medium path. So this particular path is going to go down here into the lagoon area. So I'm just splitting that off now. Now we do want to smoothen out all of our path work. We don't want Granny to be flying down the paths on her mobility scooter. And here we have our branch. This particular branch is going to go to a future enclosure you're going to see closer to the end. But I think you're going to really like what you see here. Now we do have another branch that's going to come out, which you'll see in a moment. But here I'm just having a little look, having a feel for what we can do with this area. That response center I put down, that was the response center I put down for the introduction video for the park when I was showing you the raw build. So I am going to delete that. But it was a great location. So here we're using a small path. So that's pretty much all the path work for the entire video almost. There's a little more fine-tuning to do, but that is all of the path work. Now I'm just trying to get these enclosures finalized, putting the invisible fences in. I don't want any repeat species, although in a future video you will see a repeat species. But don't worry, it's a different variant. I think it deserves its own repeat. I think you'll be pleased with it. Here I'm just trying to fine-tune these. I'm going to put a path right here. And we just want to hug the side as close as we can get because we want to bring the water back in. Again, just to remind you, if you haven't seen the other videos or you didn't catch it, all of the footage is filmed on the PlayStation 5 and the gameplay, so it is quite impressive, really. Because I would say the game runs very well on console. On previous generation, you would be locked by how... what would be a good word? You'd be locked by what genre of building you could use in a park build, but in current generation you can use all buildings in the game together on a single park. So I can use Malta, and I can use Biosyn, and I can use Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, which is pretty cool. I'm trying to make this area here seem a little bit like an island. I really do wish we had bridges in this game. And here the only way to make the island is to erase these paths. And then I can put them down again where they're really tight against the wall, which is what I'll do. I'm just struggling with those little triangles forming on the ground. They're pretty annoying. I don't exactly know what causes them, but it's probably something to do with either the paths being there or something like that. You know, the music kind of reminds me of Hogwarts Legacy a lot. I just can't stop thinking about Hogwarts Legacy when I play, or when I hear this music. They did a really great job with it, though. I really love the music in this game. Here I'm putting up something different. It's sort of like an observation tower for staff. Because this is a pretty big area, it might need some, I suppose, oversight. So I'm trying to make it a little bit Malta-themed, but also make it seem kind of busy. So they're going to have equipment like servicing equipment for those pumps. And this here radio tower. what have you, the 5G. You know, people need their 5G now everywhere. So this is going to be pumping out those 5G signals. And some crates. I know that that's like a raptor cage, but it looks kind of like you could put anything in it. Here we have some chemicals. Maybe fertilizers and stuff. Perfect. That's a nice little area that you won't see guests go there. Here I'm putting down the last two viewing galleries of this park, of this episode. So that's pretty exciting. Now this is probably where the build really gets interesting, is right here. I decided I want to do something here to mix things up a little bit. Which you are going to see in just a moment. First, we are putting in the enclosures. These are the final two enclosures, although I don't think I put in the enclosures for those other two yet. Did I? Oh, I did. I guess I just didn't film it, or did I film it and I'm just forgetting? Okay, these are the final two enclosures. That's the main thing. They are going to be a bit bigger. Sometimes I do forget to hit the record button. It happens. Unfortunately. Okay, now we are going to start our build. I decided that this hill here is going to be a sort of old broken fortress using these multi-parts. Unfortunately, it's a little bit touchy how to build it, but I do think it turns out very well. We even put one of these towers on the hill. I know it doesn't look very good now, but wait till you see it when it's finished. So here we're just trying to get a blend of these colors here. And I do find that the colors in this game really do blend quite well. With enough patience, of course. And now we are going to make it look, well, a little better. Adding this water here will make it seem like remote and distant. But once we start to add these trees, look how great it looks. Honestly, it makes an amateur like me look almost good at designing and building these things. Nothing boosts the confidence better than these palm trees. I can tell you that for sure. There, that's a world of difference. By just adding a bit of color in trees. So with that in mind, I'm going to decorate the rest of the enclosures, or at least a number of them, with some of these Malta towers to make it seem like this place used to be some sort of, I don't know, Central American ancient civilization sort of thing, or maybe some sort of Spanish fortress area in the middle of I guess, the swamp. So I think it looks pretty good. Of course, most Malta decorations, I don't really know yet where the best place for them is, but at least these stone structures here look pretty good. Now here I'm just trying to get the feeling right for land trees and water trees, water shrubs. So you are going to see, once I get it down, I sort of stick to that idea. I do like these trees for the swampland. I find they look pretty good. But it's also about balance. So you will see me add more palm trees because palm trees spring up really well. But these trees here, these, what do they call them? Seed plants. They don't spring up as much. I like the tall ones. I don't really like the short ones very much. So we are going to be sort of going back and forth. That looks good, that area there. But you see, like right here, nothing springs up. So I gotta fill in those empty areas with something. And that's where our palm trees come in. They spring up really nicely. So I can just sort of fill in the gaps with the palm trees. And you see the density that we're getting here is so great. It's amazing. So now we're going to start to work on the water. One thing I love about these leafy climbers is it often will spawn a log. And I really like how the logs are, because they do look like they belong in the water. But it's best not to overuse them, because they can be quite addictive. These ones are okay, but I don't really like how those tall, pointy bushes are. I don't really like them too much. They don't really seem to fit too well. But I suppose variety is the spice of life. Here we're just going in between these islands. We don't want too many trees growing out of the water either. These are a great shrub because they're very balanced. You know what you're going to get. Some very green and bushy bushes. But you see, when I'm going over here, those red flowers, those are the ones I say they look really good in the deeper areas because they're very low-lying. They appear much lower in the water to make it seem like it's deeper. Here, we're just checking what we can see. That's perfect visibility. It's really good there. So here we're just getting our density up on this little island. At least in this area of the swamp, I really love these seed plants. I think they're probably the best, but a seed plant palm tree combination is the best thing here. So here we just keep on moving from one enclosure to the next, and we're doing the same pattern every time. We're doing the seed plants first, then we're doing the palm trees, and then we're doing the water plants. And ideally, we're going to get a good result. So because this area is becoming a little bit too green, I'd prefer it to stay a little more wet looking. I'm using these particular shrubs to bring these bushes down, prevent it from looking like you could walk on it. So you see how deep they look when you put them in the water, and then you put these sort of guys around the sides, and it looks like, wow, it gets a bit deep down there in the middle. Now, generally for this park, I've been trying to keep the tall bushes away from the guests. I don't want them to have to walk through 6-foot tall bushes. But I do think for the swamp area, it is reasonable to think that everything will be overgrown here. Okay, that looked pretty good. And now we are just working on the enclosure areas here. I'm taking a page out of the little castle I made, and I'm going to be replicating some builds like that for the enclosures, but of course not all of them, just a couple. This particular enclosure here, if it's the one I'm thinking of, is a very special enclosure in my mind. This one is housing my favorite of the swamp dinosaurs that I'm going to be including. So I do think that they should have the best enclosure in my opinion, or at least the one with the decorations that I like the most. So I built them a little fort here, and you are going to find out who they are very soon. I'm going to tell you the list of dinosaurs that I'm including in this episode very soon once we get closer to releasing them. But I do have my list handy, and I'm just working on some lighting so that if you were to come in view at night, it would be illuminated. I want at least the castle builds to be well illuminated. So I'm just including some lights. I'm hiding them behind the scenery so that the guests don't see the light directly, but I'd like the light from these decorations to be visible, if possible. I need to test it at night, of course, so this is just a rough idea since I'm putting them down in the day, but we will see later. I think if I include it in the final edit about me checking the lights. Here I'm considering this, the Jurassic Park column, the flame column. I'm considering it as a sort of beacon to add some, I guess, personality. You know, make it seem like in ages past when they used to use flaming torches to illuminate their castles. So I put one right in the middle. And here we consider using spotlights. I do end up using spotlights. They need to be adjusted, of course, because if they're too close, they're too bright. If they're too far, they don't illuminate well enough. I suppose I don't show it now, but I do use them later. Here we're dirting the area. It looks real good when it has some dirt down. But of course we need some vegetation and foliage as well. Now here's a little bit of a trick, although it doesn't always work, but if you use the forest vegetation, it produces palm trees as well. Generally in places where the bigger tree doesn't want to spring up, so if you're having difficulty, that could be one fix. Ultimately though, it looks like most of the trees I want don't want to spring up on the island, which is unfortunate. But we can work around that. Well, looks like we're going into super speed here. I have a different idea for these enclosures. What am I doing? Oh, I'm just putting some dirt down underneath the water to make the water seem a little deeper. That is one thing I find, is that if you put dirt down, it's going to give the illusion that the water has more depth compared to if it's grass underneath. So that is a long and boring process that I don't want to waste your time with. So here you can see that's what I'm doing. And I'm also removing some vegetation. I've created this island here. This one is closer to the bottom of the area, and I'm doing another little fortress here. The dinosaur that I include in this area here is quite special. I like this dinosaur too. I just love how the reflection is on the water during the morning hours. That's quite beautiful. Again, I can never stress enough how gorgeous this game can look. I really do take my hat off to Frontier for their effort. And we're going to add our column of fire here in the middle. Of course, I want to consider other things, but it's a bit difficult. There's really not too many decorations that would fit well here. And here's the part where I decide to include these spotlights in this enclosure. I know I was telling you earlier, but I finally put one in at least. And over here, although I do want to make sure that they're perfect, so I do adjust them eventually. It's really something I should have done during the nighttime, but I do get around to it. The sound effects are just so real. They sort of remind me of when you have an upstairs neighbor who's dragging a chair along the floor or a couch, and it just makes that terrible dragging noise. That's what I get, what I feel when I hear it. So here, as I said, I'm going to be doing something different with this enclosure, and especially the ones down below, which I think you're going to find quite interesting. So here I'm changing up the type of trees in my enclosure from the super tropical looking trees, the sort of trees that look like they grow in a swamp. And I'm also trying to change the area from a swamp by removing a lot of foliage from the water. So you can see that there's a fair amount of water with no foliage, and you're going to also see some other changes coming up. Well, at least you should be seeing it soon. I just tell you I'm not using foliage in the water, and then I fill the water with foliage. But you will see how I change it. Unfortunately, these are the sort of changes that happen while I'm making the enclosure. As I said previously, I don't have much of a thought of what I'm going to do before I do an episode. I really just start the game and I just start putting things down and thinking about it. And I do try to cut out a lot of the thinking parts because it's boring to see me just wondering. You know, the camera's very still. I'm not doing anything because I'm just wondering. But yeah, here we go. You see, I'm taking out an amount of foliage. Not all of it, but an amount. And you'll see why in a moment here. I don't want to spoil the reasoning. But I suppose you could say I am trying to create a sort of transition. And here you can see I'm using some sand now in this enclosure here. Now, sand is quite difficult to mix underwater. I just find it's hard to look natural. But I do give it my best shot, which you will see in a moment here. This particular enclosure is sort of the transition enclosure, so you're going to see it not fully one way or another way. But I do change it, or I at least try to make it fit seamlessly with the next set of enclosures I'm going to do. So here I'm just trying to mix the sand in with the dirt. I don't remember if I actually put sand down in this one. I don't think I do. Mainly just this one here. Now these enclosures here are going to be primarily sand. And if you know your dinosaurs, then you may know what two dinosaurs, well, there are more than two, but you may perhaps know the two that I'm going to include in these enclosures here by their love of sand. Here we can see how my spotlights are looking pretty bright. And yet the ones at the front are not very bright at all. So we are going to adjust that, either now or later, or off camera. Now the water under this enclosure is going to be much sandier. I'm going to make it where sand is a big part. But I do think that the sand on its own, I may just not be used to it, but I can't say I like the look of it too much. So of course I'm going to try to blend it in a way where the previous enclosure was sand in the middle and dirt on the sides. Here I'm getting rid of the foliage here because we're going for a different look. And it helps to see the spots I've missed. This particular area we are going to be doing, well, dirt, although I'm using the rock texture for some reason, but we're going to be using dirt for the middle and working our way outward. Or maybe I just used rock and I didn't even notice. But you see, by blending it together, it does look quite good. Well, rock or dirt, it looks good. Under the water at least. You can't really notice it when you're on ground level. Perfect. Okay, that's nearly everything done, but we are missing one crucial ingredient for all of our enclosures. Some people would say the most important decoration piece. If you can guess what it is, now is your chance. Because we are going to start using our final decoration piece very soon. You can put your guess in the comments before the part we start using it. You can say, what did we forget to put in the enclosures? Okay, that's looking pretty good. So that is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 enclosures. I know all the dinosaurs of the enclosures except one. I don't even think I showed one of them, which is my fault. I need to go back and figure him out, or her out. But in the final tour of the park, I will be showing you all my dinosaurs, so don't worry about that. I'm just adding these leafy climbers here because our fortress area is needing a little bit of vegetation. So here's the final decoration piece, and the most important piece, rocks. Everybody loves rocks. Now, while I decorate the enclosures, now is a good time to tell you my list of dinosaurs. We have the Edmontosaurus, we have the Olorotitan, the Iguanodon, the Mutaburosaurus, we have the Corythosaurus, the Maiasaura, we have the Oranosaurus, we have the Suchomimus, we have the Spinosaurus, and we have the Dimetrodon. Of course, I probably mispronounced most of those, but my favorite of the dinosaurs in this particular episode is the Dimetrodon. It is such a cool dinosaur. Well, it's not actually a dinosaur, is it? It is a relative, I suppose, of ours, to be more exact, from what I've gathered. The Dimetrodon is such a cool dinosaur. It came with either the Biosyn or the Malta expansion. I forget which one. Really, I would say for Jurassic World Evolution 2, those are the two most important expansions, because they contain decorations and dinosaurs, and they contain some pretty cool dinosaurs too. But I just had to make a Dimetrodon enclosure. I absolutely love them. There's very few dinosaurs I don't like, I would say. Actually, I like most dinosaurs. Some dinosaurs I find less interesting, mainly because they're too small or a bit, well, boring. But most dinosaurs with any size I like. Again, I'm not really using any sort of thought when it comes to rock color. I do want enclosures to have the same color, but from one enclosure to another enclosure, I'm not too bothered. The Oranosaurus is also pretty cool. That's the enclosure I'm doing now, actually, is the Oranosaurus. The other one with a little fortress in it is the Dimetrodon enclosure. So I gave these two dinosaurs my little fortresses, which is, I think they're fitting, because I like the Oranosaurus as well. It's really cool with its back frill. You hear that? That's the dove. If you hear a dove outside, that's the dove. It loves being around my house, but I don't mind so much. Other cool dinosaurs would be, I would say, well, it's easier to tell you the dinosaurs I don't really like too much. Really, is it the Suchomimus or the Suchomimus? That particular one I don't really care much about. That and the Baryonyx are sort of interchangeable to me in my parks. I believe the Suchomimus is bigger, which is nice at least. The Spinosaurus, I did not include the Spinosaurus in my previous park from the June video. I know a lot of people hoped that it would be there. It's a very famous dinosaur, right? From Jurassic Park 3, which was a great movie. Really, all the Jurassic Parks were pretty good. The new Spinosaurus from Jurassic World Rebirth, though, I must say I love the design of that. It looks very, very cool. Not to say that I like it more or less than the Jurassic Park 3 design. I really do think they're both great designs, but I don't know, there's something about the Rebirth design that just looks very crocodilian, and I really like how it swims. And I'm under the impression that we are going to be getting that in Jurassic World Evolution 3. I could be wrong, but at least from one of the pictures I saw, it sort of looked like it. I could be wrong. At the point of recording this audio, we don't really have too many official confirmations for dinosaur lists. We just had the one dinosaur showcase, I believe. The Lokiceratops, is it? Something like that. Again, I'm no expert, so I usually say words that are half correct and half incorrect. So we're almost done here with the decorations. We are nearly 2 hours into the video, 1 hour and 50 minutes. It is a whopper of a video. I really do thank you guys for joining me. I couldn't record the commentary in one day. I had to split it up because even my computer was dying and my headphones were running out of energy. So you guys are the real MVPs if you can watch this whole episode. But I don't blame you if you can't. I would say to anybody, if you're not, like, obsessed with Jurassic World Evolution content on YouTube, then just wait for the park tour at the end of the series. Honestly, I don't blame you if you can't watch 10 hours of YouTube content or more. It's dedication right there if you can, though. And I take my hat off for you. So we're just doing the final decoration. This was a huge episode in just building. But when everything came together, I was so proud of myself. And I don't want to toot my own horn because there are a lot of better Jurassic World Evolution park designers than me in the YouTube community, but I mean, for myself, this is a huge step up in build quality. And you know, it's a start of a new thing for me because being a YouTuber, I do want to ensure that I'm delivering a great quality video and product and result for you, my viewers. So there was a lot of experimentation and a lot of trying new things, but I would say that I'm quite happy with the results. We're just using our favorite combination, palm trees and rocks. They are best friends. Sometimes they stick through the rock. Yeah, it's not very nice looking, but we just have to use our imagination and not look too closely. But just a combination of colors is just perfect. So this is a Dimetrodon exhibit right here. This particular one. Here we're just adding a little bit of life to the enclosure here with these rocks. I love the way the bushes just surround the rocks. I think that just looks perfect in every way, really. Here I'm just wondering, did I already do this area? That looks good. And then these rocks here get the palm tree treatment, the palm tree experience. Look at the way the bushes just morph around those rocks. Yeah, do I delete them? No. I guess I try this one because too many palm trees are coming through that rock. I don't like it. Even I have boundaries. Even I have standards. Now I'm adding the piscivore feeders. These are for my two, well, piscivores, the Spinosaurus and the Suchomimus. And I believe I add... I guess I don't add the meat one for the Dimetrodons yet. But I do later when I actually turn on eating for carnivores. Then I do give them that. Mainly because I do find that, well, naturally, trial and error, you see that, oh, the animals will not eat if they don't have food. If they have food, but you turned off hunger. So I was hoping that they would eat just for show. Like it would be a built-in sort of animation. But no, it is directly related to their needs. Which is a good way of doing it. So we're just working on filling in some of this blank space here. I believe we still have one more little construction project to do before we get the dinosaurs in. I know that we're running on in time here, but this is a real long episode. But I don't want to come back to to areas too much in the future. I really do want them to be pretty much done when I finish the episode, so I gotta make sure that I'm going over them and ensuring that they are, well, I would say pretty much finished the way I like them. Of course, I do go back. I do a little bit of decoration, things I forgot, which you will see in the final park tour. You will see some little details that you didn't see me put in when I was building it. But those are really just afterthoughts to help spread things out. But it's a good opportunity to have a look at the map or the area here. It's quite big. Now here, because we're going down a slope, the path, the Malta walls will not go down the slope. So this is a part where I really transition to tree cover. And that discourages guests from going too deep into there. I don't want them to fall off the cliff. There's nothing preventing them from falling and hurting themselves, so I put up a lot of tree cover here to ideally sort of block the way. I also want it to seem like even if you're just passing through to go to the lagoon area, I want you to feel like you're entering the swamp, even if you're just making a beeline down this main path here and going to the lagoon. So I do want to include these trees to ensure that people get that experience. Like, they don't need to see any dinosaurs, but they get to walk into the jungle for a short time. Which is also a reason why I wanted, next to all these little paths, there to be a lot of bushes, just so that people are getting that experience, walking in the wild, compared to the more well-maintained pathways with cut grass in other parts of the park. This swamp is meant to represent the overgrowth and the wildness of a real swamp. So I do try to avoid using too many decorations and mainly use the plants as their own decoration here. That's pretty cool, the log coming out right next to the path, so when you're walking by it looks like they just cut the log. It collapsed over the path and they just cut the tree, so it left that log there. That's pretty cool. Here I'm adding these palm trees. It does block the sight line, but the view you get from the viewing gallery is really good, so sometimes you want to have that extra sight as you're walking by an enclosure you want to see inside, but I don't mind making it so that you don't see too well sometimes. I'm just putting some extra decorations around here. I don't exactly know how much I like it, but it is different, what I do here. I generally like things to be kind of symmetrical and to look good. So you'll see later and you can tell me if you think it looks bad or not. I'm kind of half happy with it, half unhappy with it. if you want to spend all day, you can make these benches look really good, which I did in my June park build or park tour. I did a great job putting some benches around a fountain like this. It's something I can do if I really, put the effort into it, but to make it look perfect is a bit of a challenge, a time-consuming challenge. But I do get this idea here to put these curved walls around it, well, and the umbrella. There we go. So the curved walls, they look pretty good. And then the gate in the middle. So I can't say if I love it or not. I think that the curved walls and the gate look good, but I think it's the flower planters that I put next to them that I don't like. You see, it's this angle here. I don't like this planter's angle compared to the other planter. I think it's a bit off. And here we have our final building project of the episode, is putting in these two cafes, coffee shops, as you would expect. These are sort of not just for the swamp part of the park, but also for the lagoon part. The main idea is that this is sort of your last stop before you get to the lagoon. As you can see, the path branches off, the main path branches off, and I want it to be where, before you get to the lagoon, you can have a little coffee stop, coffee break, and enjoy a nice cup of coffee. So we're going to decorate it and sort of work around it to make it seem a little more, I suppose, balanced. Get the look right. I love Jurassic World panels, and I can't say I love that archway, doorway too much. So I change all that off screen, of course. For this particular shop, I decided to go with an angled entrance. I'm putting these statues here with is that the Spinosaurus head, or certainly one of these piscivore dinosaurs. Mainly because, well, this is the area where that dinosaur is. Its enclosure is really very close. It's just down the path. Adding in some planters. And I don't want to block the entrance, so I'm going to leave that part empty. And we're going to opt for the stone planter here. This is how you know your park is on a budget, as they just fill a planter up with rocks. You know, locally sourced, they're free. They got them from the mountain. And we're going to use them on the other side here. And put them at an angle. To simulate a walkway. And we're going to get some dirt down. I like to imagine at least the dirt isn't the type that sticks to your feet. You know, when you're walking, you don't want to get your feet all dirty, you know, covered in mud. We're just going to have one last little look here. This area is pretty plain. I do end up putting a little something in here. I don't recall if it's off camera or not. Now here I opt not to put anything in front of the seating area. I don't want the view to be obstructed. You can see the Spinosaurus, or no, that's Suchomimus from there. And at least while you're having your coffee, you can enjoy the view. I'm just considering the plants here. Making them a little thicker would be nice. Here's a little bit of extra decoration for this area. I love these things, the poles. I like to imagine they're kind of like incense poles, but they have like mosquito repellent. So the mosquito repellent is sucked up the poles and then is sort of released into the air the way an incense pole would be. So it's sort of like a mosquito-free area. Oh boy, we're really running low on time here. Where are the dinosaurs, right? I do apologize. Honestly. I'm spending 2 hours and 10 minutes building a park, and I'm spending like 10 minutes putting dinosaurs in? That can't be right. I guess I go real quick at the end here. But this build, or this series, is very build build heavy. I would say building is the big part of my style, I suppose, for now. Of course, I'd love there to be a little bit of variety, a little bit of, I suppose, change. The next episode, episode 6, I do put some dinosaurs in, then I build some more, then I put some dinosaurs in and build some more. So don't worry, the flow is better in the next episode. Here we finally get our first dinosaur, the Dimetrodon.
I finally get it.
Start with the Dimetrodon.
I finally understand why people have a fear of the dark. Once you peer into the shadows and see a pair of Dimetrodon eyes staring back at you, well, you'll be having nightmares for years. That's if you're lucky enough to walk away, because, believe me, not everybody is.
Yeah. Anyway, I chose, I believe, 3 different color schemes for this dinosaur. I called it the Dimetrodon, he called it the Dimetrodon, which is certainly the correct spelling. But old habits die hard, as they say. Here, I'm just showing you a lot of, I'll try to say it his way, Dimetrodon. I show a lot of Dimetrodon footage because I'm just so interested in this dinosaur out of all the dinosaurs of this build. This is my first time ever putting a Dimetrodon into a park. He just steps on his head. But they're really cool, so I'm really impressed. Here, I really do love it how they do use that front area. Sometimes when I'm checking on them, they love to hide behind the little castle I made. Here's another skin, another color variant. I think it's pretty cool. The purple. Again, as I've said previously, I don't know what they're going to look like until I actually put them in. I can only just imagine what the colors are going to look like. I'm pretty sure on computer you can. Now we move on to the Edmontosaurus, I believe it is.
Transportation complete.
So this is a pretty cool dinosaur. I really love its face. It's got a very nice look to it. The duck beak and that sort of thing on its head is very cool. And I find it quite a fascinating dinosaur.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Here, what do we have here? Is this the Corythosaurus? Yep. This one's not quite as interesting, but it does look pretty cool. You see those hands, right? And you see that mouth. You see how they're webbed hands. The mouth is like a duck's mouth. These dinosaurs want more than just 6% water. Honestly, I think that's the biggest lie. I think these guys love water. Oh, here we got our next one. Maiasaura. This is a nice one. Reminds me of the Iguanodon. But I do like this one as well. And the Edmontosaurus. They sort of have a similar look to them. But just walking through the water. I think the head... Isn't there a color variant that makes it look a bit like a skull? Or is that a different dinosaur? Oh man, we're moving quick here. This is the Iguanodon, I believe. There's the star of the show. Everyone loves the Iguanodon, right? And I believe I have 2 variants of the Iguanodon, which you're going to see very soon. They changed the variant, and it's a very noticeable change. So you will see them interacting soon. The main difference is the size is radically different. Here you can see a view from the viewing gallery. These viewing galleries are so perfect. Here's the other variant of the Iguanodon. You will see them interacting, but wait till you see. Look at the difference of these two.
Asset transportation underway.
They're both adults, but radically different size here.
Asset delivered.
I do think I like the bigger variant more, but as I said previously, I do want to include different variants if we have the option.
If it is possible for a dinosaur to be
the-
both elegant and awkward at the same time, then the Muttaburrasaurus takes the prize. This is a large herbivore that should make for an excellent addition to our collection.
The Muttaburrasaurus. Now that's a lovely one as well. I can't say I put him in every park I've ever made. But he does look quite nice. I love the nose on that one. Here we have a real beauty. The Alluro Titan. I love the crest. And the color pattern looks beautiful. I'd probably say 8 out of 10 times I do a pretty good job with the colors. But I love the gold. It looks like one of those, you know, in Japan when they break the cup and then they repair it with gold. It looks a bit like that.
An Allura Titan to the park.
Here's it interacting with the castle piece I put in. Now here is the Tyrannosaurus. And you can see why I put him with or put her with the castle. Look at that duck beak. And they say it wants 6% water. Can you believe that? This dinosaur looks like it could swim for miles. So, yeah, I think that's ridiculous. Honestly, in Jurassic World Evolution 3, they've got to change the water requirements for these guys. These guys look like they love water. Now, just the back on these things looks so amazing. I think these are such a cool dinosaur that I just had to give them that extra castle I made. There are dinosaurs across the way. I believe I must forget to film that part. I forget what dinosaur it is. Here's the Spinosaurus. I chose the red variant here. I forget if I add another different colored one, but such a ferocious creature here. I like the footprints in the sand. That's a really cool feature. I chose this blood red. I wanted it to be very fearsome. Here's the Suchomimus. At least I think it's a Suchomimus. I turned off the dinosaur statistics, but I chose this lovely green color. It's quite the creature. I certainly wouldn't want to be alone in a room with it, but it gives me that sort of crocodile sort of feeling. Here we have another Dimetrodon shot, or Dimetrodon, and I got a shot of them all walking in front of the castle here. I just thought that looks fantastic. What colors do we have? Is that a different color, orange and red, or no? Looks like we have our red ones and then we have another one. I forget how many I have. I think I have 6. Oh, there's another one. So I at least have 6 in this enclosure. Well, that about does it for this episode, doesn't it? That was long, 2 hours and 25 minutes. You guys are real MVPs if you watch this far, but if not, I don't blame you. This is long, long, long. I know that everyone has a style, and I'm still trying to find mine. I don't want episodes to be this long in the future. But thank you very much for watching, and, well, please do consider liking and subscribing, and we will definitely be doing something. Here is that missing dinosaur that I forgot to film, and I forget what one it is. But the swamp finally finished. I really love the way this turned out. This area, I put a lot of effort into it. You can tell that I guess I went a little bit overboard sometimes, but oh wow, this is such an amazing episode.